as like at the end of it, so it'll all work together.
Okay.
Welcome to the ADNA Presents. This is Roy Samuelson. Today we have Naomi Ross. She is a filmmaker with a passion for horror and fantasy and complex storytelling. She loves using lights and colors to tell stories and comment on social issues that are important to her. Naomi is inspired by creatives like Jordan Peele, Julie Taylor, and Hieronymus Bosch, a 16th century Dutch painter. Thanks so much for joining us, Naomi.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What do you love about audio description?
I think audio description is so important for movies for everyone, sighted people and blind people. It allows for everybody to enjoy the film, one, but also I think good audio description adds layers to the movie that you're watching.
I love that you said layers. That's also part of your mission about complex storytelling. Are those two
Yeah,
things related a little bit?
I think so. Yeah. I definitely think the words that are used, like if you use one word rather than another word, it tells something to viewers, both blind and sighted viewers. I started using audio script description years ago when watching movies, and my family are all sighted people, so they would watch it with me. Initially, they were like, "Oh, this is just a little annoying," but after a while, they were able to tell me like, "Hey, I can't watch a movie without it anymore. It tells me something that I might have missed. Maybe I'm looking away from the screen. Maybe I'm just not paying as close attention as I think I am." It helps me catch things that I was missing, especially in horror movies and fantasy movie.
What was that like to be able to see your family change? Because I've had sighted friends and family have that same experience. There's that initial resistance, like, no, I don't
Yeah.
like it. It's too much. I'm seeing what I'm hearing, but something
Yeah.
happens. What do you think is happening?
I think they start to realize how helpful it is to them. Initially, it's like, "Oh, I have to do this for my blind family member," and it's like, "Oh, I have to change the way I'm doing something." But after a while, it's like, yeah, I changed the way I was doing something, but it made an improvement on my experience as a viewer, as an audience member. And it was my little brother was the main one who had like a lot of resistance because he was like 5, 6, completely confused why there was an extra person talking. But after a while, he loves it. He'll turn it on when we're watching something and I haven't turned it on. He'll go, "Oh, we got to put on the audio description."
Wow, what a change.
Yeah.
I like how you said that, the obligation to the improvement. And you also said about audio description being a good layer. I want to hang on to that word good because it is an extra layer, but that good part, what does good mean to you when it comes to audio description?
It means a lot. It's an accessibility feature. So just by being what it is, it's beneficial. But like I mentioned, it allows for people to pick up details that they wouldn't have otherwise, especially when it's done intentionally and not just something that a studio or streaming service is slapping on top due to an obligation. When it's done with passion for the art form that it is and intentionality, the person doing the audio description is telling the story. They're not just reciting something, they're telling a story. And that makes the experience so much more, I think, rich, in my opinion. Everybody has their own, but I think it makes it a richer experience.
I'm imagining you as a filmmaker have a specific vision for the story that you want to tell, whether it's fantasy or
Yeah.
horror. When it comes to telling that story, what do you see happening as far as, let's start outside of the audio description itself, but just as a filmmaker, and then let's talk about audio description,
Yeah.
how you work with it. What stories do you love to tell when it comes to horror or fantasy? What is it about storytelling that lights you up?
I find representation is super important. So I like to tell stories from different perspectives, especially people who are underrepresented, whether that is race, a culture, or disabilities. I like to tell those stories as somebody who is like, I've been into a lot of different categories as someone who's underrepresented. To be able to tell stories from my perspective and the perspective of others, it's super powerful to me. And especially when it's the genre of fantasy and horror, these are genres that sort of wipe the slate clean and let everybody start at the same point. So we all are scared together and we're all feeling fantastical together. And in that way, we're able to relate to each other in ways that we wouldn't otherwise. And that's what I find the most interesting, the most powerful about these genres and my journey as a storyteller.
When you say together, I imagine the word connection. That there's
Yeah.
something about that getting together, and you said wipe the slate clean. There's something about that also really resonates. I can see how easily this works with audio description, and let's talk a little bit about that when it comes to your filmmaking. How do you incorporate audio description when you want to make sure that representation on screen is also happening for the audiences?
I have been really trying hard to connect with people who do audio description. Initially, I was thinking maybe I could do it myself on my films. I am a short film maker and a student at the time right now. So it's a lot of trial and error. And I've realized that I'm not the person to do the audio description. So I've been searching a lot to try to do that. But outside of audio description, I like to make my worlds rich in sound and storytelling through sound design especially, and making sure that close attention is paid to that. I know that's something that's overlooked a lot of times in short films and student films. So my goal is to make it well-rounded so that can the film can be enjoyed with the picture off. You can still understand what's going on. I'm really inspired by audiobook and audio dramas, especially because it's so rich in world building just through what you're hearing in a way that you can just imagine what's happening without actually seeing it. So that's kind of the way I've been doing it right now. For my thesis projects, the big project of my college career, I am looking to get it audio described. Already, I'm working to try to find people to do that. And again, making sure that it's rich in sound and music and just paying really, really close attention to all those little details that sometimes go overlooked.
I love that you said details too. That focus that you're giving. You know, even in the bio, you talked about lights and colors to tell
Yeah.
stories. That's something that a lot of people would be confused about when they hear you say, "Oh, I like lights and colors, and I also like audio dramas." That there's that
And
people might misunderstand that, but
yeah.
when you incorporate the sound to tell that story, whether it's through the audio description or something else, what when you talk about the details, what would you I'm not asking for any spoilers of your thesis film, but is there something about the details that you could share with our audience that would help share why that matters so much?
Yeah. How do I do this non-spoilery?
Right, exactly. This is hard.
I will say we're paying a lot of attention to the sound design, especially just like minuscule sounds that would permeate the space that this takes. It takes place in a dining room, right? And an old dining room at that. So there's a lot of tiny sounds, whether that's like floorboards creaking or the walls, because walls make noise. They do. So whether it's that or like somebody scraping a fork against a plate or just those kind of things, they're very tiny, but they layer together to kind of build a world that if none of those sound effects were there, someone would be watching that and kind of taken out because it doesn't feel right when there's
Mm.
not the sound there. So
Yeah, hearing you say you don't want someone to be taken out, especially in the sound design, and when you're looking for audio description, what are you looking for when you find the right team or the right person that's gonna help you with that?
I would like to find somebody who is passionate about horror. I think sitting around a fire telling horror stories, that kind of voice, somebody who can layer on where it's not like just like this happened and this happened. I want it to be like emotionally tied to the story that's being told
Mhm.
so that once again, nobody's taken out. I want it to fit in the world and somebody who is passionate about horror or just like weird storytelling and can help to mold the world instead of just like slapping something on top of it. I think that's the perfect person. That's my idea audio description person in a perfect world. That's what I'm looking for.
We've talked so much about what a good layer of audio description is, going from the obligation of having to do it to the improvement that audio description provides. You've talked about the intentionality that audio description provides and your intentionality of the details of your film to be as audio drama'd as possible. We've talked about representation and that perspective and how powerful it is when the slate gets wiped clean in the horror because we're all here together and connected. This is such a exciting time. I hope we can talk again, but before we wrap up this interview, is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you'd love to share with our audience?
The project I'm working on is called Dinner and Diatribes. It is a surreal horror, psychological horror about a young man who wakes up in a dining room surrounded by this odd family that he doesn't know, and they claim that he's supposed to be there and they're his family members. This story is about conformity and forced assimilation and corruption, and it's allegorical for society a little bit about identity and who you are and whether you conform to those around you or you stay who you are. And I think that's really important when I talk about representation, and not changing yourself and not giving up who you are in order to fit in with people or in order to make other people comfortable. And so I think this story is going to be really interesting. We go into production really soon, and it's going to be so fun. I have an amazing team, and I'm so lucky to have those people because filmmaking is a collaborative experience. And so it's enjoying a film and watching a film. It's all collaborative. And I feel like this is going to connect a lot of people, and it's going to be really great, really fun. That's that's pretty much it.
I love it. How can we follow you or your film?
Yeah, I have an Instagram for both me and my film. My Instagram is wild.grapes with a V on the end. And then my Instagram for the film is dinner dot in diatribes. And we're on Instagram, and you can follow us there, and our website is also on there through a link tree. Super easy.
Love it. Thanks so much for
Thank you guys so much.